and how are you guys doing today? I'm so excited to talk about the topic we're here to talk about, but first I have three really small things to talk about. We're going to go from least important to most important. Number one, that is a piece of bread hanging on the wall. It is my lunch, and I am motivating myself like a mule with a carrot in front of its face to get this done. Not that I don't like doing this. Number two, the poster, 25 minutes to put up, no tape, no tacks, no nails. I used freaking safety pins. I took safety pins and didn't have a hammer, so I used this box and I just smashed the safety pins into the wall. Damage that can't be undone? Pfft, who cares? I'm gone in college in 3 months. Alright, and the last one that is actually really important. If you have not watched this episode of My Hero Academia, Season 3, Episode 41, or Episode 3 if you would like, pause this video, X out of this tab, throw your computer out of the window, whatever you have to do to stop this video, and go watch it right now. Because why I say that is, I'm a pretty theatrical, intelligent, witty person. I would like to tell myself that. No one else ever has, but I like to say that. But I cannot do an ounce of justice to this episode. It's like if cameras existed back in the Garden of Eden, and, Adam and Eve were just walking along with God, and God was spilling out that knowledge and them prophetic words, and we got it all on camcord, and then someone posted it onto, YouTube or some other website. It's like if you went to watch me talk about that video when you could just go watch that video. So anyways, if you have not watched this episode of My Hero Academia, I strongly suggest you go watch it, and then come back and watch my input on it. Anyways, those were the three things. Now let's jump right on into it. Like I said, today we're going to be reviewing Season 3, Episode 41/Episode 3 if you would like, titled Kota. Yeah, little disappointed when I found out the title. I was like, great, we're just going to get a filler of just this tiny little child's background that I don't give two craps about. But thankfully, that's not what we got. So I really don't know why they called it Kota. This anime does 10 out of 10 on 95% of things, but as far as naming the episodes, I would say they fall short. Not a ton of anime that I think of now put a lot of intricate thought into naming the animes, into the episodes, but that really doesn't matter. Okay, let's get into it. We kickstart this episode off with Class B walking through a forest and into this big area of a wide open forest. They're surrounded by forest, but then there's this area that has no trees and a bunch of dirt that they can train in. Class B walks on into this, and they see Class A training their asses off. And now, at the end of the last episode, I believe it was Bakugo that commented, so if this is training our quirks, we all have individual quirks, how are we doing this? Well, we found out today, and we basically found out hell. But as Class B walks in, they see just old Class A just spread out through this giant grassy field, training their quirks. And before, in this episode, we jumped into each of what the Class A was doing. We got introduced into the rest of the Wild Wild Pussycats. Because last episode, we got introduced to Pixie Bob and Mandalay. But now, in this episode, we got the last two remaining members. And that is Tora and Ragdoll. And as they introduce them, they actually go over their names and their individual quirks. Because we got to see what Pixie Bob's was, but we didn't get a name for it. And I don't think we even got to see Mandalay's. So basically, Pixie Bob is Earth Flow, and last week I was under the impression it was more of I can control any type of Earth and make giant things come out of the air and smash with boulders, but it's how they described it, Earth Flow, was I can pretty much create the perfect area for you to train in. So I mean, I don't know if she can just be there's a giant boulder over there, I'm going to rip it out of the ground and throw it at you, like Toph would. I don't know how far her Earth abilities go. So hers is Earth Flow, and it was described as I can make the perfect arena to fight in. Next we have Ragdoll, and it was called Search, and basically she can keep track of a multitude of people at one time, where they're at, how they're doing, and things like that. Then after that we have Mandalay, is telepathy, I believe that's how you pronounce it, telepathy, and she's able to communicate with multiple people at one time, like any telepathical person. And Toro had Playa Body, and basically he can move his body in just odd contorting ways, and the play on words is pliable, I think. If you have something that's pliable, you can twist it and contort it into interesting ways. So that's what he can do with his body. Later on in the episode, you see him fighting against a student just for practice, and they try and punch him. It was Deku. Deku charges up 5%, tries and punch Teru, and he just like contorts his body in a weird way. He's like, "Ha! You missed me!" So yeah, we got the Wild Wild Pussycats, we got the rest of the members, their names, and their quirks. Let's move on to my second favorite part of this episode, and maybe just my second favorite part of this whole entire series. And if I didn't mention it before, favorite episode, hands down, because of the ending. And if you're still watching this and you haven't seen the episode, then why are you here? Go watch the episode. Anyways, my second favorite part of the episode is we get to see all of Class A training their individual quirks. And like Aizawa described earlier, he's like, yeah, you've learned more intelligent ways to use this. You've gained a little bit of stamina with your quirks, but you haven't just increased the raw power of your quirks. And that's what each of them are training to do. So we go by each and every Class A student and see how they're trying to improve her or his quirk. Alright, so let's start off the list. And if you see me glancing down, it's because of this right here. My pronunciation is so awful, I literally went onto YouTube, listened to how people were saying their names, and then wrote it down in a way that I can understand on how to say it. So like for Froppy, her name is Asui. I spelled AH-SU-WE, Asui. So I have all of Class A, all of Class B, all the pro heroes, and all of the villains' names written like this. It took like half an hour. So anyways, if you see me glancing down, that is why I'm glancing down. So let's see how each and every hero from Class A is trying to improve his or her quirk. We start with Aoyama, who can shoot the laser navel. And basically his is, he's shooting his laser for as long as he can and trying to increase not only the power of his laser, so let's say he can like shoot it through a 5-foot piece of concrete. Like now he's trying to shoot it through a 20-foot piece of concrete. He's trying to improve that. He's trying to improve how long he can do it for, because right now his biggest weakness is he can only shoot it for a second and then he gets really bad stomach cramps. So yeah, a laser's dang powerful, but if you can only shoot it for a second, how is that helpful? And I don't believe we ever are told, like, he can shoot it for a second, he has to wait a second, then he can shoot it again, then wait, then go. I don't know. I don't think we ever got an interval of how long he has to wait. But if it's like a second, then he has to wait 5 seconds, that's kind of crappy. So he's trying to improve how powerful he is, and he's trying to gain more stamina of like only 1 second. Next, we move on to, but let me say something really quick. Some of the characters had really interesting, cool ways of how they're trying to control and get more power behind their quirk. And some of them just had really plain Jane ways. But granted, you gotta do what you gotta do for your quirk. Next is Ashido, the acid user, and hers was really boring. She literally was against this big cliff. She put her hands against it and just shot out acid. I think they described like she was trying to make her own skin less affected by the acid, which just sounds really painful. That's literally having your students sit there and like pour acid on their hands and body and like, just get over the pain, okay? Just create some calluses. Some calluses will fix your body. It's all good. So she's sitting there trying to produce as much acid as she can for as long as she can and trying to get her body to overcome the side effects of her using too much acid. Let's move on to Ida. Probably the most straightforward one he has. He's running laps around the entire camp. That's all he's doing. He's trying to increase his speed and for how long he can run. Go Ida, you run that marathon. Next we have Ochiko. She is working on her stamina because we all know if she uses her gravity for too long or picks up too much weight, she wants to vomit, which I thought was hilarious in the first episode. When she does vomit, she vomits like a rainbow. And my brain sat there and thought, oh, the repercussion of her quirk is she vomits rainbow. No, it's more just them censoring real vomit. But anyways, so she's going around carrying this big boulder, and they stated, we're going to do that as long as you can to increase your stamina so you don't want to vomit, and we're going to increase how much weight you can carry. Because, she can't just pick up 5 skyscrapers and throw them on villains, but hopefully one day she can, and then she'll be really OP. Next we have Sota, the guy that eats sugar and gets really strong. He literally was sitting at a picnic table with a crap ton of food and was lifting weights. He was just lifting weights and eating sugar. Because his quirk is a lot like Kaminari, pretty sure I pronounced that right, and if he puts out too much electricity, he becomes stupid. Sota's the same. The more sugar he eats, the stronger he gets, but the dumber he becomes. So he's trying to work out on, I'm going to eat so much sugar that I'm going to not become stupid until I hit this level. So let's say he has 500 calories of sugar, and then his IQ drops this much. Now he wants to eat this much sugar and calories, and his IQ only drops this much. So he's trying to level that out. And right beside him, you have Momo. Momo is her last name. I could not get her first name down. I tried. And Momo is from my favorite TV show of all time, Avatar: Last Airbender, so I'm calling her Momo. She is the creation quirk. She can make anything from her body. And I believe what she was doing, she was sitting right next to Sota, also eating food, because we got an interesting little tidbit on her quirk. We already knew she can create things, anything she wants. We knew that. We knew she needed to understand the molecular level and how they are created. We understood that. But they also said the things she creates are from her lymph nodes, and the more she eats is the more things she can create. So if she doesn't eat for a day, she won't be able to create very much. She eats a lot, she can create more. So that's why she's eating a lot, and then I believe as she's eating, she's just creating things like, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this. Well, what would be really interesting is if Momo could eat like something gross like apples or vegetables, and then make pizza and then eat it. She could literally solve world hunger. Momo, don't go fight villains. Yeah, villains are threatening, but there's millions of people starving. Just go make them pizza. It's just like how pigs can eat slop and then make bacon. Best creatures out there. Anyway, so that's what she's doing. So let's move on to Soji, the dupli arm user. He has a bunch of arms and vaguely looks like Kakashi in my eyes. He's actually teaming up with another quirk user, Hagakure, and they're using both their quirks at the same time to try and strengthen each other's quirks. And Hagakure is probably the most depressed human being in all of the world. She has the saddest training. This is what her training was. Soji was supposed to use, he's able to create different parts of his body on the ends of his arms. So he's creating ears, eyes, noses, so he can sense where Hagakure is. And this is literally how they stated in the anime. Soji is using his quirk to make multiple appendages so he can sense Hagakure, so he can strengthen the height of his senses. Hagakure is just staying out of sight like always, and they just moved on. She's literally just using her stealth, and she's invisible, so all you have to do is avoid giant clanking noises, and you're fine. Just sit on the ground and be like, okay, this is it. That is just very depressing, and I felt very bad for her. Moving on to Bakugo, one of my favorite scenes in this anime. He's sticking his arms, and they have these giant, like 50-gallon barrels, the ones that they ship oil in, oil spills. So he has one of those over a fire, filled with water, boiling water, sticks his hands in there, and the anime states, he sticks his hands in there so his sweat glands were open, so he can sweat more, so he can turn his sweat into nitroglycerin or whatever, and make bigger explosions. But he is still a 15-year-old boy, and he's just sticking his arms repeatedly in boiling lava-hot water. I get it, they're heroes and everything, but that's painful! Why don't you just stick your arms repeatedly in boiling hot water and see what happens? Like, damn. It's very clear that, his quirk makes explosions. It's not Deku, where he's more, stronger, durable. So that has to be very painful. I don't understand what these teachers are thinking. I guess there's probably a lot of legal waivers you have to go through to get through that. Let's move on to Ojiro, the tail guy. And he is also doing a little tag team with Kurasima. And Kurasima's hardening, and they're just sparring. So Ojiro's trying to figure out how to use his tail faster, stronger, harder. And Kurasima's trying to just make his stamina last longer and his hardening to be more hard. So they're just having a little duel, fighting it out. That's cool. Next we go to Kota, which is another one I just kind of feel bad for. He's able to talk to animals, and the only really way he can improve, because as far as we know, any animal with like an actual animal, because when he tried to do this with the mud beast that Mandalay created, because when he tried to do this with the mud beast that Pixie Bob created, it had no effect. So I believe any real animal he can control and have to do kind of what he says. So the only way he can improve is by improving his range, and it has to do with vocalization. So how do you improve your range? You get louder. So he's already a really shy guy. So they have him standing on a cliff, just staring off to the sunset, screaming his lungs out. They're just like, yeah, Kota needs to make his lungs stronger, and this will also help him be non-shy. Yes, if you are shy, guys, go on top of a cliff and just scream out into the distance, and you'll go home and you'll be over your shyness. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This one looked almost just as painful as Bakugo's. Shero, the guy with the tape, he was literally on his knees, shooting tape. He was on a cliff, on his knees, shooting tape out of his elbows. They went off over the cliff, falling into the abyss. And he's just sitting there like, oh, this is so painful. And I don't know why it was just so hard to watch, but just the continuous tape coming out, and he was just like groaning in pain. I'm like, so you just sit there and do that for hours on end, and they say in the anime, it makes dry skin, bleeding, and extreme pain. So like, have fun. Next we have Dark Shadow, which is a really funny one. Tokiyami is just in a cave because it's been stated that his Dark Shadow becomes very aggressive and he can't control it in the dark. And that makes sense because when you're in the dark, you don't have shadows. So that's the kind of the play on that. In the sun, if you're a very prominent sunny day, your shadow's really big. If you're in the dark in real life, you don't have a shadow. So that's why it's harder to control. So you just hear him screaming like for his life in a cave. You don't get to see him. You just get to see a really dark cave. He's like, no, don't kill me, please. We're buddies. That's his training. Moving on to Todoroki. This one was confusing. All the other ones were pretty straight. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing to get stronger. Todoroki, like Bakugo, used a 50-gallon oil drum. It was over a fire. It was boiling water. But this time, instead of just his hands, he was taking a bath in it up to his chest. And he was chilling there. He had his arms on the side like, a little 200-degree water on my flesh, light skin, whatever. He's sitting there, and what he had to do was freeze, he would freeze the water, freeze the oil thing, freeze the ground around him with 50 feet in a giant circle, and then he had, just as fast as he could, use fire to melt it all away, reboil the water, and he just went fire, ice, fire, ice, fire, ice, fire, ice, as fast as he could. And what they kind of explained in the anime, the reason he was doing this was they were trying to get him to be able to control both fire and water at the same time, and the degree of how hot or cold it was. So maybe he could shoot fire and ice at the same time, but then also he could maybe make his fire less hot and his ice less cold to a degree. That would be cool if you could do a combo attack and make the water just hot enough to make the ice just water, and he's just shooting hot water at someone. That would be pretty cool. So that's what he's doing. He's sitting in boiling hot water like a normal 15-year-old would. After that, we have Deku. Didn't understand Deku's. He was just dancing. He was just, I guess, improving his stamina. He was literally like, bam, yeah, bam, 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 bam. He was just dancing. So we have this little scene where Deku's dancing and Taro comes over. And I think Deku's like, why am I doing this? And Taro goes on to explain. To get muscle. Look at that bad boy. To get muscle, you go to the gym. You work out and you rip your muscle fibers. And then you rest and they regrow stronger. That's an actual thing. That's how people gain muscle in the real world. He said quirks are the same. You need to overextend using your quirk to where you can't use it anymore. Rest and then use it again and you will become stronger with it. And I thought that was really interesting and kind of a cool concept. So I guess that's what Deku's doing. And granted, while he's dancing, he's using 5% of his quirk. So it's not like he's just dancing. So that's what he's kind of doing. He's creating more stamina and being able to use 5% for a longer period of time, which is the same as stamina. Anyways, after that we have Mineta, and what he is doing, a lot like Saru, he's just on his knees crying, ripping the balls out of his heads. And they're like, Mineta's training his quirk so he won't bleed or have extensive pain when he rips these out of his head for a long period of time. And I hate that character, but at that moment I kind of felt bad for him. And then after that we have Asui. She's climbing, she's just scaling a 20-foot wall. She's using her tongue to stick her tongue out, grab the top, and propel her up. She's also climbing it, and they're just she's trying to improve her tongue strength, and her climbing abilities. So she's trying to be more like a frog. Surprise, surprise. And last but not least, we have Kaminari. And to sum up his exercise, what he has to do to strengthen his quirk is torture. Not torture in the anime sense, literal torture techniques that have been used throughout the ages, well, maybe not throughout the ages, but throughout the last 50 or so years to torture people in our society and world. Just kind of the opposite of how it works. Because in our world, we hook up people with car batteries, and they're like, where's the girl? I'll never tell you. Ha! Zap! No! But in this world, he's grabbing onto the two things, and he's hooked up to a large battery, and he's shooting his electricity into the battery instead of the battery shooting electricity into him. But it's having the same effect, because he's shooting just mass amounts of electricity into this battery, and what they're trying to do is mostly improve his stamina, because just like Sota, he gets really stupid the more he uses it. So they're trying to increase the more he uses it, the less stupid he gets, and he's trying to increase his voltage. Like I said last time, maybe his highest voltage is 100 million. Now he's trying to get to 150, 200 million, and his IQ barely drops at all. Alright, that was a really cool scene. That was all Class 1A. That's how they're trying to improve all their individual quirks. After that whole scene, you get a little, after that whole scene, you get another, like, really tiny segment where Deku is talking to Aizawa, and he's pretty much like, so when's All Might, when are these all other heroes going to get here and train us? And Aizawa's like, I already told you, you brat. No other heroes are coming. It's me and the Wild Wild Pussycats. 2 reasons. Number 1, the Wild Wild Pussycats and their years of experience plus all their individual quirks are the best suited for your training out in the woods. Which makes sense. Pixie Bob, with her quirk, can make any area trainable with using Mud Flow. Mandalay can talk to multiple students at a time to kind of give them instructions like how we're going to do this. And then Ragdoll can keep track of each individual student at any time. Like, oh, a student went missing? Oh, they're over there in the girls' shower room. Wait, it's a boy. What's happening? And then Toru can, I guess he can fight against the students, kind of help them like he did Deku. So that's the first reason, as I was said, like they're the best suited for this type of training. And number 2, since there's been an increase in villainy lately with the League of Villains, we don't want to draw a bunch of heroes out to one location where it can easily be ambushed. Especially with All Might, since Deku specifically asked for All Might. He said, he kind of said a little bit angrily and a little bit jealous, like, well, everyone's trying to get All Might. He's the main reason, so he's not going to be here. Just like, I'm not, I guess, whatever. I'm not a good enough hero for the villains to target. I don't care. So anyways, that's how that goes. But, you know, they've had a hard, long day of literal torture. Now it's time for some dinner. Some freshly made curry. Freshly made by themselves. Basically, we just get it's a funny, relaxing scene that lasts for a minute or two. They make curry. They eat the curry. They have to use all their quirks to make the curry and stuff. Some of those quirks will be really handy. Like Momo, she could just create the food, I guess. Like, why can't you just make food, Momo? Anyway, so they have to use their quirks, and they make food and they eat it. And there's a really funny scene where Saru is eating it, and he's like, I mean, I know I'm literally starving because I've been working all day, and my elbows taste like blood, but this food tastes like literal dog shit. And you just see Momo, like, all depressed, and then you have Jeru just, like, punches him in the face, like, be nice or be sensitive. He's like, I'm sorry. Okay, next we move on to the title of the scene, Kota. Obviously, you think we'll get a little bit of character development with him, since in the last episode it was a little mysterious, this boy that hates heroes, and you get a little vague background. Also, guess how old Kota is? I'm the worst with guessing ages in the real world. Sometimes I found 12-year-olds by mistake. Just kidding. Kind of. And it's really hard with anime, too, because you'll have anime people that look like girls that are guys, that look like they're 30, that they're 10. Kota's 5 years old. You know, I thought he was like 9 or 10. Which makes sense. That's an age where if your parents die, you can kind of start to hate the reason they were killed. But, like, he's super mature for a 5-year-old. Getting ahead of myself. Basically, Deku sees Koto go off into the wilderness during supper, and Deku's kind of worried about him. He knows the most about his history, so he's like, he needs to eat. I'll go bring him some curry. So basically, Deku follows him to this cliff that overlooks the entire forest, the lodge, the area that Class 1 is eating at. So he walks up to Kota and is like, hey, I brought you some food. And this is where we have the interaction and we get a little more in depth about what Kota really hates about quirks. Deku tries to offer him the food and he's like, why the hell are you here? I didn't ask for you, just go away. And then Deku tries to help him and he's basically, well, you know, I know you hate quirks, but just hear me out. I once had this friend, he's talking about himself clearly, I once had this friend that admired heroes above anything else. He wanted to be a hero, he would kill to be a hero. But he didn't have a quirk. And day after day after day, he just lied to himself. Like, no, you know, I know like 5 is the age, or whatever it was, is the age that if you don't have it by now, you don't get a quirk. But don't worry, I'm going to get one. And day after day, he would try and breathe fire. He would try and move things with his mind. He would try and fly. And he kept lying to himself. He wouldn't accept the truth. And in the end, it just hurt my friend even more. Which is honestly really good advice for the real world. You know, if something isn't attainable or isn't going to happen and you just lie to yourself, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You just need to accept the truth and move on. You know, I'm not saying don't fight for what you believe in, but sometimes it's better to throw in the towel and just accept it and move on. And Kota kind of replies like, I see where you're coming from, but just shut up. You don't understand where I'm coming from. It's not that I'm just denying the truth. It's that everyone else is blind to the truth. Because I don't just hate quirks. Because Deku's kind of just under the impression, well, he hates quirks and like heroes. But he's like, I'm sick of this society that labels everyone and everything. When my parents died, they were playing a game. They labeled them heroes, they labeled these people villains, and they labeled the things they use quirks. And he just felt, he was really just pissed off that the society would label his parents. His parents were not things to be labeled. They were human beings that he loved and were ripped away from him. And that's how he felt. And he just felt this society kind of brushed under the rug, like, oh, they were heroes. Those were villains. They did a good job. And then Deku kind of was like, wow, this kid is hurt really deep, and I can't really help. So Deku gives him the curry. It's like, I get it, man. I'm going to go. You get a little insight into his quirk, actually, though, because as Deku's leaving, they pan over to the rock, because he's on a cliff with a cave behind him, like rock, and there's this giant, like, impact into the rock, just, like, shot a hole into it. And we know his parents were both water-based quirk users, and usually quirks are passed hereditary, whatever. So more than likely, Kota can like shoot water out at like high speeds, assuming. Anyways, moving on, we get a little ominous introduction of the villain vanguard. And basically, the vanguard is the top 10 elite villains in the villain league, besides probably like Tomaru or Kurigari himself. Sorry, I had to look at the pronunciations there. So the villain vanguard is the top 10 villains in the villain league, and they're all standing, again, there's a lot of like up like high cliffs, I guess. There's like 6 so far. Anyways, they're standing on a cliff out overlooking the entire forest, the lodge again, the area where Class 1 is eating, and you have Dobby, who I don't know Dobby's quirk. I've only seen him like twice, but he's becoming one of my favorite characters. 1, his name is Dobby, like frickin' Harry Potter. 2, his aesthetic is badass. That like the stitches on his eyes and the discolorization in his face, super cool. He's standing at the top, like stupid. The league originally tried to do this with like what? They had like 100, 200, just riff raff, and that's when they try and attack. No. What you need to do is take a small number of elite villains, and that's how you're going to get the job done. And everything he says is just like in a low, badass tone. And so you have 7 villains standing on the cliff. We don't know all their names yet. Obviously, we've already been introduced into Himiku, if I'm pronouncing that right, and I hate her. We've seen her the same amount of time we've seen Dobby, and she just annoys the piss out of me. Don't know why, but Dobby's awesome. Himiku's stupid. So they're all standing on the cliff, and another villain who we don't know is like, Dobby, can we get this started? Can we attack right now? And Dobby's like, just shut up, you stupid villain. There's only 7 of us. We need all 10 of us, okay? And then we'll attack. We'll time it perfectly. And then we get this, one of my favorite lines from the entire anime so far. Dobby starts talking, and they pan over to the lodge where old Class 1A is sleeping to kind of just like promote peace and harmony. Like they're sleeping, and it's so quiet. This ominous music starts. They're looking over all the heroes, all of Class 1 sleeping, and he's like, soon they're going to realize that their peace lays in our hands. And that's where that ends. And then we cut over back to the morning, because the whole villain thing was at night. It's the morning. You have the extra class kids, the really stupid kids. You have Asudo, Sota, Kaminari, Kurisama, and Saru. They're all there with Aizawa. Aizawa's pretty much like, you guys are dumb, you're going to have to do extra classes. And the funniest thing was, I think Saru notes like, okay, I knew I was going to be a little bit harder than the other kids because we have to do extra classes, but we studied yesterday for 18 hours, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., literally 18 hours of just studying. It didn't even look like they got to do any like physical training. They're just like in a classroom with a whiteboard. So that was kind of funny. And then we also find out that Ochiko and Aoyama only passed by 5 points. So they were like that close to failing as well. After that, Class 1A is making lunch. I believe it was lunch. And you get this another impactful conversation between Deku and Todoroki. Basically, Deku goes to talk to Todoroki about his whole conversation with Kota. And he says, like, this is what I told him and this is how I responded. And Todoroki is basically like, you cannot change someone's philosophy with words. You need to put action behind those words. And I thought that was just brilliant insight. You know, you can apply that to anything in life. But let's just take religion, a huge thing that everyone argues about. You can't go up to a Christian and be like, and you're an atheist or a Buddhist or whatever. I don't care. I respect all religions and non-religions. They're awesome. But you can't go up to a Christian and be like, hey, you're wrong because it's stupid, and list off some vague points You really think you're going to change that Christian's whole outlook on life with those words? No, you need to have action. You need to have more proof. You need to have some meaning behind the words you're giving. Otherwise, you just fall short and like no one listens to them. And that's just applicable with anything. And Deku was like, "Wow, you have some really good points." And he had a flashback to where at the very first episode, All Might was like, "You can become a hero." And he didn't just walk away. No, he trained him. He gave him his quirk. There was meaning and action behind his words. It was not just empty, vagueless words. He put his heart into the words that he said to Deku that day. Anyway, so we get that. I used to hate Bakugo. I just found his rage just super annoying. Like, why do you have all this rage? And now I have learned to like him, and I like him for that exact same reason. Because he has rage all the time for, like, no good reason. Literally, the flashback we get why he hates Deku is because Deku tried to be nice to him when he fell down once. And now he's just angry all the time, apparently. You see him, like, chopping characters, like... And I think it was Momo like, "Dang, I didn't know you're so good at cutting." He's like, "Oh, stupid! Of course I'm good at cutting. I'm good at everything, you idiot, go die!" And he just has so much anger. He must have, like, knots all over his back. He's gonna die from a hemorrhage or, like, a heart attack at the age of 10. Even though he's 15. Okay, let's get going to just the most epic part of any anime I've ever watched. We get to the competition that Pixie Bob mentioned earlier in the episode. So it's now evening, nighttime-ish, I would say like 7, getting later. And she's like, "Okay, Class A and Class B, you're going to be competing against each other. We're going to do, like, a stamina / like, courage test," which is really weird. Never heard of that, like, in really any other anime. At least how they did it. I get courage tests, but how they did this courage test was really weird. She's like, "Class A, teams of 2. Got it? Class B, teams of 2 or 3. You're going to go out into the forest. Pixie Bob has made this loop in the forest. Class A is going to get up with 2 groups of 2. We're going to draw it randomly. You're going to walk through the forest. Class B is we're going to try and scare them." And Teru says it in a great way. "Whoever can make the most people piss them pants wins." And you get Jeru, who's just like, "Please stop, you disgusting filth." But then Ida chimes in with, like, his fanboy, like, "Oh, AU is just an amazing school. I see they're trying to make us use our quirks in imaginative ways to make us piss ourselves. All hail AU." So that was funny. And then another funny scene, Deku was like, wait a second. Because the 5 people that almost failed are with Aizawa back at the lodge doing nightly classes. So Aizawa was like, wait. We only have 15 people. If we're in groups of 2, we are going to have 1 short. So he goes through this mental phase. He's like, okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And then he imagines himself staying there by himself. He's like, wait. He does it again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Wait. 2, 4, 6, 7. He just does it faster and faster. And he's like, I'm going to be by myself. So that was funny. But then we get into the actual competition. We get, of course, Todoroki and Bakugo are together. They're walking through the forest. Someone from Class B can, like, phase through material, I guess. So she phases through the earth and just goes, boo. And they're just like, oh. And they keep walking. And at this point, I was like, there's honestly only like 2.5 minutes left. I was like, this has been a funny, good episode. Pretty good. A little something to write home about, but not the best. It was cool with the whole core training. But then, oh boy, was I thrown out of my chair and slapped in the face because, honestly, one of the most badass anime moments I've ever watched happened right then and right there. And I wasn't expecting it at all. I thought the rest of Class A was going to go through. They were going to announce who the winner was. They're going to eat some dinner, something with Kota, the end. But no, that doesn't happen. And the reason, honestly, this scene was one of the most badass scenes I've ever seen was the music. The timing of what they did was pretty good. How they introduced themselves were pretty good. And clearly it's when the villains are coming to attack. But the music was just amazing. And I love Japanese culture. I want to go there. I want to go to Japan more than anywhere else. But I feel like they don't take enough things from American culture, especially with music. It's always their own Japanese music and their own things like that, their own like musical tropes. And that's cool. I love anime openings. But the music they chose was clearly at least some Western based. Because what you get was 3 Class B people were talking like, man, you really scared Bakugo good. That was so great. And then a little bit, just a tiny bit of ominous music started. So you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Here come the villains. And you're expecting a little, like, some music like, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, or I don't know. I don't know what ominous anime music sounds like. But you get one of the characters like, can you smell like something burning? And then And still, it was really lighthearted. Another Class B was like, yeah, I guess I can smell something burning. Face drops to the ground because this purple gas came in. He's just like, I think I can smell something. Broken nose, for sure. And the second his face hits the ground, it just like... It was just this amazing hard metal death music. And I've never heard that in any other music besides like the Death Note opening. But it's never been put into an anime scene. It was stupendous. I almost shit myself. I was not expecting it at all. I wasn't even expecting the villains to attack that episode. We got their little tribute at the cliff, but I was like, okay, they're gonna do it next episode, drag it out. But no. Amazing. Wasn't expecting it, and just out of nowhere, he's just like, I guess I can smell something burning. And I thought, oh, it's Bakugo, I guess, being pissed at burning something. But as soon as he said that, his face slams against the ground, and in perfect unison, just death metal screams come, and then cut over to Pixie Bob. Pixie Bob's like, shit, what does that smell? Something's about to go down. And I like how they do it. They didn't, as soon as they started like the Screamo music, it wasn't just Screamo the rest of the minute and a half. They broke it up. They did like hardcore Screamo for this event, little like drum, like something, drum, like really building it up. And then you see Pixie Bob, some like I guess someone that can use the force pretty much, picks Pixie Bob off, pulls her into the forest, and then Deku's like, oh shit, Pixie Bob. And some villains come out, just this giant like, it looks like a piece of metal, caved in Pixie Bob's skull, and they're standing there. There's a lizard guy, he's like this, and then another guy who has like the steel rod running through Pixie Bob's head. She wasn't dead, but she's like crushed her skull, and they're standing there like, yeah, we're the badass villains. And then again you get just a scream as they're standing there like, we're about to screw with your world. And then the very last scene is we have Deku like, okay, shit, what about Kota? Because Kota, he still thinks, and is right, is still at his hideout on the cliff. He's like, shit, what about Kota? And we cut over to the scene. Kota's standing there with we get to see his back. He's looking out down at the forest, and it's just hell. You see this purple gas everywhere that's poisonous. You see fires, trees on fire, like blue fire, which is really cool. And then the very last second, you see a dark shadow with a cape just walk out behind Kota, and it ends. So, blew my mind whole. Favorite episode from My Hero Academia. Straight up just one of my new favorite animes ever because of that episode. Before I started recording, I was kind of tired, so I was like, I'm gonna watch that episode again. And when they got to the last 2 minutes, I'm like, come on. And like, sorry, I'm just too excited. Anyways, so love the episode, great stuff. Cannot wait to see next episode because it wasn't anything childish like, oh no, we're getting attacked. Don't worry, All Might's gonna save us. No, it was the middle of the night in a creepy forest, just a forest on fire with gas, literal just like deadly gas with this demonic music going on in the background. Shit's about to hit the literal fan, but not literal because I don't have one in my room, but it's about to go down and it's going to get crazy and some people might, I don't know, who knows. But anyways, hope you guys have a great day. Love you all. One last thing before I go. Either the next video or the video after that will be shot on a new camera. Because, yeah, I know my camera sucks since it's a laptop camera. It should be coming in Tuesday, so it depends if I want to make another video today. It will be on my laptop, but if I don't, my 7 Deadly Sins review will be on the next camera. Anyways, I'm really excited for that. I'm going to go eat my toast. Love you all. Like and subscribe. Have a fantastic day. And just remember, Ultra Plus!